What is up, everybody? I'm your Legendary Commander, and welcome back to Baldur's Gate 3. In this video, we're going to talk about bows, and that includes crossbows and the things you might actually need to know about these weapons. Keep in mind this video is coming out during early access, which means this information may not be relevant by the time the game comes out to full release. However, most of it should. So in the last video, we talked about why everyone needs to have a bow of some kind. And while any bow will do, at a certain point, you might need to swap out the bow you're carrying. For example, at low level, when you have nothing else, obviously just a regular bow is better than nothing. But while you're between level 1 and 4, you should actually carry a crossbow. This is because of some of the mechanics of a crossbow versus a regular bow. If you look at a regular bow, it has certain statistics, such as 18-meter range, dippable, two-handed, and ammunition. A longbow also has heavy, which means if you're a dwarf or a halfling, you're probably going to struggle to use this weapon. And when I say struggle, I mean disadvantage. Now if we look at a crossbow has one extra thing on it: loading. Now, one-day ammunition might be important as well, but loading is probably the biggest one to pay attention to because, and we actually have to go outside the game to get this information. Because of the time required to load this weapon, you can fire only one piece of ammunition from it when you use an action, bonus action, or reaction to fire it, regardless of the number of attacks you can normally make. So what is that saying exactly? Well, at 1 through 4, this isn't a big deal because you only get one action, and unless you're a fighter, which you would take action surge, which gives you another action, you're only going to be firing it once, and in that case, twice. But at higher levels, you start to get extra attacks, but even then, they're still under the action term, meaning a fighter can take 2 attacks, but it's still one action, meaning unless you take crossbow expert, a feat, you should be getting at level 4. You ignore the loading property of a crossbow and don't take disadvantage for being in contact with creatures when you shoot. You know what? I'm going to take Mage Slayer. So anyway, if you aren't taking that and you have an extra attack, well, you're wasting it. And if you take Action Surge because you're a fighter, you have 2 more attacks. And if you shoot with the crossbow, well, you're wasting your other extra attack again. When in combat, you kind of want the most DPS you can get, which means you're probably going to want to go ahead and grab a regular bow because you can fire twice, Action Surge, and fire 2 more times. Or at even higher levels, you might be able to take 3 attacks per action. This is considering that you're fighting at range and not up close, where you could use your greatsword or great axe. And if for some reason you're not convinced that this isn't enough loss in DPS, well, don't forget your bonus action, Dip. Dip allows you to dip your arrow into something that is flaming, for example, and add an extra D4 of damage. So now you're rolling a D6 or a D8 plus a D4 per shot. You notice that gap keeps widening as you level up, unless you took crossbow expert. So what I'm trying to tell you is, in the beginning, you need to carry a crossbow. But as you get further into the game, you need to actually change your weapon out to a regular bow. Or if you happen to find something that does more damage like a double shot crossbow, which would be pretty cool to find something like that. And then we come on to special add-ons to the weapon like acid arrows, flame arrows, explosive arrows, impact arrows that make an explosion that push enemies back. All these can be fired from a crossbow or a bow. So why specialize in a crossbow expert skill losing that feat when you could just put it in a bow? Now, contrary to what I said, there are characters that are going to need to carry a crossbow all the way to level 20. Those characters can't fire that often, and that's because they're mages, and they're not meant to be using weapons like that. They're supposed to be casting spells that hit a lot harder. For those characters, totally get them a crossbow, and if for some reason they can gain an expertise in a heavy crossbow, get them a heavy crossbow. But for the most part, they're mages. But guys, that is going to be it for this one. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure to tell your friends. But y'all take care. And I'll catch you next time.